FetchMap, what it can do. Right, when you turn on FetchMap, first thing you might want to do is hit that little arrow on the upper right. It pulls up a control panel, and you can select all sorts of maps here. Now, you can either pinch your fingers or spread them in order to zoom in and out, or double tap. They'll also recenter and zoom out. You can then swipe back and forth to move around the map. We're going to pull up a transportation map as a second layer. That slide bar on the upper left allows you to fade in and out. We're going to pull up an old map, Old Brooklyn. This is from the New York Public Library. We can zoom in and you see the server wasn't as fast as FetchMap, so maybe we have to refresh. Happens occasionally. Let's zoom in on Old Brooklyn. You notice what's called Washington Park here is what we now recognize as Fort Greene. Some map servers need a little bit more information. We're going to look at one from NASA. These are satellite views. This one requires a date. So let's try out 2018, January 5th. Looks like a rather cloudy day. Or how about one from the summer? This is August 1st. A little bit clear. FetchMap allows you to turn on a scale so you know how far you're going, both in kilometers and miles. The scale is correct for the middle of the map, so as we change our latitude, that scale will adjust. We can also turn on the GPS, and that's where I'm sitting right now. If I turn on Track GPS, it'll keep that at the center of the map as we move around. It updates every few seconds. In FetchMap, you have a lot of maps available. Up here on the upper right selector is all the maps that form the base layer. The next one forms the second layer, and you can select any of those. However, sometimes you want to add more maps. So I can go down to the Manage Source button. I just tap that, and there's a whole list of nearly 50 maps that are available to you. You'll notice that the base and the transit switch keep on toggling back and forth. They tell you what that map can do, which layer it shows up on. I want to pick a layer here, the Aerosmith 1796, and I'm going to put that on the transit. Just flipped it onto the transit, and now I go to the transparent layer, and I flip down to the bottom. Let's see if we can find it, Aerosmith, and I can then show this old classic map and use my fade bar to get it to overlay it with the new map. One of the most unique features of FetchMap is the ability to cache maps, so you can use them when you're offline. They'll be saved in the memory of your device. So imagine you're going for a hike here in the White Mountains, and you'd like to have a trail map. Go in here and select a good map. Here's a topo sheet that's available. I'd like maybe the Open Topo map, but my all-time favorite is the USGS topo. I can want to look at, oh, there's the classic view. And now when I click on Create Cache, it'll ask me a little bit. Draw the path or circle the area that I want. So here's my approximate hike. It'll save maps near that line. It's now calculating what tiles it needs, and it asks you how much detail do you want to have. More detail, the more memory. Down here at level 15 is appropriate for hiking, so I'm going to do that. And then I have to give it a name because it's going to file this away for future reference. In this case, I'm going to call it the Prezi. And then make my request. Now it's going to load up 1,203 tiles, roughly 200 megabytes. We won't know the exact size until all the tiles come in. Here comes the last few tiles, and then we're ready to hike. One more example for building cache maps. This is the Jungfrau area of Switzerland. I'm going to create a cache. This time I'm going to circle a whole region because I'd like all the information within that region. As long as my line crosses itself, FetchMap will recognize that as a region fetch. I'm also going to pull up some really high resolution stuff. So I'll scroll down here to level 17, which is not a lot of megabytes because it's a small area, but it's a 6-meter resolution. I'm going to give it the name Alps, and then just let it fetch away. Now that you've created your caches, let's use them. I'm going to pull up the Manage Resources again. And this time I'm flipping over to the cache in the middle. You can see the presidential ones. I just hit the Show button, and that shows me where that cache was kept. Here I'll pull up the Alps, hit the Show button, and it shows me where that cache was saved. I'm going to flip it onto base so it shows up on my selection wheel. And now I go over to Use Cache, and I select on Alps, and there we go, selecting on the Alps, and now there's the Jungfrau. This is out of memory, so I can be completely offline and get all sorts of maps. I can zoom in quite a ways. Eventually I do hit bottom though. That's the best map I can get. However, that is 6-meter resolution when I look at the scale, so that's not so bad.